Coming up on Network Africa, heavy police presence ahead of Kenya protest against the high cost of living. Ten victims of South Africa gas leak from Mozambique. Plus, Ghana opposition MPs boycott parliament in support of colleagues standing trial. Hello everyone, welcome to the program. I'm Joke Rogers here in Lagos. We start off in Kenya, where there's heavy police presence around the capital, Nairobi, and other major towns as opposition supporters are expected to hold demonstrations protesting the high cost of living. Protests have already been reported in several places, including Nairobi, Mombasa, and Kisumu, where police have used tear gas to disperse crowds. Local media say that several businesses have been vandalized by demonstrators in Kisumu, and there have been confrontations between police and demonstrators in several parts of the capital. And a busy highway leading to the city was also blocked this morning. Opposition leader Raila Odinga is scheduled to speak at a major political rally in the capital later, where many believe he will announce the resumption of weekly nationwide protests. The authorities have allowed the rally to go ahead, but caution against protesters going into Nairobi's city center. Let's speak to Kenyan journalist Cyrus Ombati. Cyrus is coming to us virtually from Nairobi, the state capital. Good to have you today.
Thank you so much for having me on the studio today.
Right, so can you give us a feel of how Nairobi is right now?
Well, thank you so much. So far, Mr. Raila Odinga and his team have finished the rallies across the country because Raila was Nairobi. Kalonzo Musyoka was somewhere in Eastern Province near Nairobi. It's called Machakos. Another lady called Mother Karo was in Central Kenya. There's another one which was out of Nairobi, in Kisumu, Mombasa. Actually, the rallies were all over the country because it coincided with a day called Sabasaba, that's 7/7 in English. It's a day which is marked by the country to mark a kind of the birth of multi-party in the country. The rallies, especially in here in Nairobi, became violent in a way after Mr. Raila Odinga addressed his supporters at a place where they had agreed to meet. Police tried to block them from accessing the CBD because he said they were coming to the CBD to petition the government against the rise, the high cost of living, and the passage of a bill which is contentious and now is pending in court and has been stopped so far. And in the process, there were chaos, people were beaten up, cars were damaged by police. So right now I'm in the CBD and it's started so far.
People apprehensive of these scheduled rallies?
Yeah, people are apprehensive of the rallies because after that, Raila has gone to his office and has announced that there's another rally scheduled for next week on Wednesday, that's July 12th. And people now in fear the chaos are going to continue kind of raining because all the time such a rally is called, protest is called, police come in and the chaos break out. So businesses are closed down all over the country and it's chaos. There's nothing going on, actually, you can say, in terms of the revenue collection and any business.
And you say businesses have closed, and that's something that people must be struggling with, especially business owners. So what else have other people been struggling with since the announcement of the controversial tax increases?
You see, now when you increase the cost of fuel, it affects everything across the board because it's transport, food, it goes up. And that's it's a challenge which has been there, and now you add more problems because they added almost 12 shillings, Kenyan shillings, which is a bit expensive in terms of affording. It's a problem. It's chaos all over because people are complaining that the cost of living has gone high, and those in authorities are not listening to their please. So it's what Raila is actually joining now in a way, and is taking away so many. That's why you saw the protests were all over the country, to say per se.
Right, and the government says it will allow the rallies to some extent, but what is it saying about the seemingly continued discontent of a significant portion of the population, and perhaps how far it's willing to go to help the masses?
You see, the problem is there has not been kind of talks or dialogue to solve the issues which have been raised. When the opposition tried to stop these increases in terms of cost of living in parliament, they are outnumbered because the leader of majority, actually the majority whip in the house, says they bribed some of MPs to vote for the bill. So that itself shows that there's a will and a kind of forced by the government to ensure that this cost of living goes high. There is no clear dialogue which has been coming out from the government to solve this problem. Now that's why the opposition is trying to steal the show from them to cause all these problems you are seeing.
Well, thank you so much for speaking to us on this situation, journalist Cyrus Mbati.
Thank you so much for having me on the show.
Let's move on. Mozambique officials say in South Africa say at least 10 of their nationals may be among the 17 fatalities after Wednesday night's gas leak in an informal settlement of Boksburg, east of Johannesburg. At least 4 of those being treated in hospital after the incident in the densely populated Angelo shantytown are also thought to be from Mozambique. A large number of Mozambican migrants moved to and live in South Africa, both in the formal and informal sector, including mining. On the day of the leak, a Mozambican woman living in South Africa said her husband died in the incident. Speaking through tears, she added that she was concerned about how she would get her husband's body home to Mozambique, as she was unemployed and he worked part-time jobs as a handyman. The leaders of South Africa and the Democratic Republic of Congo have signed nearly 40 trade agreements, including one to revive a hydroelectric scheme. The Grand Inga Dam project is a series of 7 proposed hydroelectric power stations across the Congo River. If built as planned, it will be the largest of its kind in the world. South African President Cyril Ramaphosa signed the agreements with his counterpart Felix Tshisekedi in the Congolese capital Kinshasa. Right now, South Africa is experiencing a massive electricity crisis with frequent power cuts. The World Health Organization's top official, Dr. Tedros Ghebreyesus, is concerned that the conflict in Sudan is further exacerbating an already challenging health and hunger situation. According to his statistics, the situation has increased the number of people at the highest risk of hunger from 11.9 to 19.1 million. This year, nearly 60 million people are food insecure across the greater Horn of Africa, which includes 7 countries: Djibouti, Ethiopia, Kenya, Somalia, South Sudan, Sudan, and Uganda. Unfortunately, the unrest makes it difficult for families to take advantage of immunizations to stop death from deadly diseases.
I'm pleased that together with Gavi and UNICEF, WHO will shortly announce the allocation of 18 million doses of RTSS malaria vaccine to 12 countries in Africa. Malaria remains one of Africa's deadliest diseases, killing nearly 500,000 children under the age of 5 every year, and accounting for approximately 96% of global malaria deaths in 2021. The first vaccine against malaria, the RTSS vaccine, has now been delivered to more than 1.6 million children in Ghana, Kenya, and Malawi. It has been shown to be safe and effective, resulting in a substantial reduction in severe malaria and a fall in child deaths. The climate crisis is now one of the major factors determining human health outcomes. El Nino, which has now been announced by the World Meteorological Organization, together with global warming, is already driving record temperatures.
I think it's really important to remember nearly every minute a child dies of malaria. And the introduction of malaria vaccine as another tool, an additional tool in the toolbox to fight against the severe disease, the deaths that occur, is a really essential step forward. Malaria vaccine is a real breakthrough in child health and child survival. It's the first vaccine for a parasite. And this is the thing that kills children in Africa and is the vaccine that is in such high demand, with many countries applying for this vaccine. So this is a very positive news story that the allocations are being made. The supply that we have is going out.
In the meantime, thousands of South Sudanese braved afternoon rain to attend a much-publicized cultural festival where speakers encouraged peace as being everyone's responsibility, while at the same time calling on all to desist from hate speech. Drawn from diverse ethnic groups gathered for song and dance, this festival is part of a year-long Peace Begins With Me campaign launched by the United Nations mission in South Sudan this year. As dark rain clouds gathered over the grounds of Queen Mary Catholic Church located on the outskirts of South Sudan's capital, Juba, so did the young and the old.
Message to my people in this lovely country is that we should live together. All right? We should stand together as one. We will succeed. We will win what we need to win. You understand? So this country, there is nothing we need. If there is peace, I think everybody will do what he wants to do for himself. You understand? Yeah. So my message to my people is that we should live in peace. Forgive one another. Forgive your brother. Forgive your sister. Even though you have which kind of problem with that person, try to forgive that person so that we live together. And we should remove that mentality of calling ourselves by our tribe. All right? Yeah. We are not living in South Sudan by our tribe. We are living in South Sudan as South Sudanese people. We should call ourselves, we are South Sudanese. Mata salana na minya tugibila.
The campaign aims to amplify the voices of ordinary South Sudanese, celebrating your contributions and advocating for your participation in all levels of decision making.
Elsewhere, opposition MPs in Ghana boycotted Parliament in solidarity with their leader in Parliament and a newly elected MP who are both standing trial on separate charges. The largest opposition party, the National Democratic Congress, indicated that this is the start of actions they are taking to end, in its words, the ongoing persecution of MPs. The absence of the MPs, who make up half of Ghana's Parliament, compelled the Speaker to adjourn proceedings, as most of the issues being considered were on the questions raised by opposition MPs. The minority leader, Cassiel Atto-Forson, is accused of causing financial loss of 2.3 million euros linked to the purchase of 200 ambulances, an allegation he has denied, while the new MP, James Quasson, is undergoing trial on charges of forgery and perjury. He has called on the handling of the criminal case against him an act of intimidation and described the trial as politically motivated. The Supreme Court nullified his election for failing to renounce his dual Ghana and Canadian citizenship when he filed a nomination to run as an MP in the 2020 election. He has been ordered by a High Court judge to appear in court every day, a directive now being challenged at the Court of Appeal. Welcome back. The killing this week of a Tunisian reportedly by migrants is raising tensions in Tunisia. Reports are rife of retaliation and mass expulsions as sub-Saharan African migrants report that security forces dumped hundreds of men, women and children on the border with Libya. According to Radio Mosaic, Tunisian security forces have put some migrants in shelters to avoid vengeance attacks, while about 200 others have headed by train station to escape to Tunis, the capital. Some migrants reportedly being taken to an isolated beach near Libya's border with armed men from both countries on each side. A 29-year-old man from Ivory Coast said that he was among 600 sub-Saharan migrants caught in what he described as a no-man's land between the Mediterranean Sea and the Tunisian-Libyan land border near Ben Guadin. The man, who spoke to the Associated Press in a video call and shared his GPS location via WhatsApp, said he was intercepted on Saturday evening, 2 days before the death of the Tunisian, as he waited in a safe house to board a small boat to Italy. The medical charity Doctors Without Borders says food distribution from international aid agencies working in Ethiopia must be resumed as a matter of urgency. USAID and the UN World Food Programme, the WFP, froze aid to the northern region of Tigray and then to the rest of the country last month after discovering that food shipments were being diverted and sold at the local markets. Tigray suffered from dire shortages of food, fuel, cash, and medicines during a brutal 2-year conflict between forces loyal to Ethiopia's government and the Tigray People's Liberation Front. In a statement, MSF says that more than 20 million people in Ethiopia rely heavily on food aid, and even before the suspension came into effect, medical teams were witnessing alarmingly high rates of global acute malnutrition. Elsewhere now, the CEO of Junior Achievement Africa, Simi Wogogo, has received the Africa Education Medal, recognizing her work to improve youth education. The NGO currently reaches more than 300,000 young people annually with entrepreneurial skills that prepare them for the future of work. The Africa Education Medal, which was founded by the T4 Education Organization and the HP Technology Company in collaboration with Microsoft, is considered a prestigious education accolade. Several of the Junior Achievement Africa alumni have gone on to have successful careers in businesses. According to its website, the NGO currently has a presence in 16 sub-Saharan African countries. And leaders from Nigerian business community gathered in Johannesburg, South Africa for a breakfast meeting aimed at addressing some of the challenges confronting the Nigerian business community in South Africa. The gathering brought together prominent entrepreneurs, industry leaders, and government officials. Key topics discussed during the meeting include trade facilitation, the visa challenge, and strategies to enhance business relationships. During the meeting, the leaders emphasized the importance of fostering collaboration and synergy between Nigerian and South African businesses to drive economic growth and mutual prosperity. Our South Africa correspondent, Innocent Simosa, reports.
First meeting comes at a time when bilateral relations between Nigeria and South Africa have experienced their fair share of challenges, including xenophobic attacks on foreign nationals and strained trade relations. The Nigerian business community converged in Johannesburg with hopes of finding common ground.
I'm therefore highly impressed and proud that you have continued to present yourselves as worthy ambassadors of our dear country, Nigeria. As you individually grow in your various fields of endeavor and work tirelessly to add value to your host communities and country, I would like to assure you of the sustained support of the Nigerian government to ensure the successes of your businesses.
However, some of the paramount concerns of the Nigerian business community in South Africa is the recurring issue of visa and permits to trade.
Our challenges are huge and multifaceted. You know, first and foremost, when you come here as a doctor, you need to register with the Health Professional Council. For you to register with the Health Professional Council, there are a lot of red tapes that go into that. Number one, immigration. You know, number two is the Foreign Workforce Department. So the Immigration Department doesn't talk to the Health Department.
As a business person, especially in my field of work, which is construction, I do not see any problems because As you well know, Nigeria doesn't produce quality building materials. Nigerians tend to bring in all their building materials from China. But that seems to be changing.
Regulation is a big issue on both sides, I think in different ways. A lot of countries tend to over-regulate, and often that's about making money, but it actually presents a blockage. And I think there's a lot of room for change and for addressing problems. But I think a lot of this has to happen at a more people-to-people level, and working with governments is important, because that can move the needle in a way that the private sector can't on its own. So we are hopeful that maybe that's where we can actually pick this up and run with it.
His Excellency Ambassador Mohammed Manta says the visa issue is being addressed at a diplomatic level.
The Consular Migration Forum is a meeting of experts in the immigration and consular desk within the foreign ministries of South Africa, of Nigeria, and the Department of International Relations and Cooperation of South Africa. That committee has met twice already, and the third meeting is due in October this year.
Well-being of Nigerians. Well, generally, I think once in a while you have issues of police high-handedness. Members of our community bring reports to us, but generally, the Nigerian missions here, the High Commission in Pretoria, the Consulate in Joburg, have established a framework of engagement with the South African authorities. We meet monthly.
Hopefully, this meeting will truly pave the way to improve relations and enhance economic cooperation between the two nations. From Johannesburg, South Africa, Innocent Samos, Channels Television News.
Staying with South Africa, finally on the program though, once seen only as a playful pastime, Pantsula was performed as a symbol of black South African culture and resistance to the apartheid regime. Thato Kofela first performed the dance routine in his childhood backyard. Now he's helping to revive the dance style and take it onto a global stage. Take a listen.
Pantsula, the quick-stepping, energetic and syncopated dance started amongst black youth living in townships like Kofela's, Ketlong, under the apartheid government system of racial segregation, which ended in 1994. It became a vehicle for social and political expression and resistance. Pantsula's choreography, including movements mimicking sweeping, playing dice and saluting, meditated on black South Africans' everyday experiences and provided a code that performers could use to communicate in a language state police could not understand. It later enjoyed popularity among South Africans of different races, but waned somewhat as modern dance styles gained prominence. Now Kofela's dance troupe, via Ketlong, wants to drive a revival of the style, and has taken the dance to the global stage with shows in France, the Netherlands, and Portugal. Pantsula is more than just entertainment. It helped him stay out of trouble while growing up in Ketlong, where riots against the apartheid government were a regular feature of life.
They get bored, they get hooked to drugs and stuff and alcohol. So I'm trying to prevent into njengaleyo because there was a lot of crimes and even those drugs were there.
The 34-year-old dancer says the backyard rehearsals led by his brother meant he had no time to get involved in illegal activities. For other troupe members like 33-year-old Tulisile Binder, being able to express herself through the dance has provided a way to heal from life's challenges.
Dance in general, it has allowed me to explore what life is. It had allowed me to explore things that I face in life, and I'm able to actually express it via dance and Pantsula, obviously. And also dancing with feet, there's this thing about your feet being... There's some sort of healing that happens when you are dancing with your feet. So there's that thing that happens. So for me, it's been a healing journey.
Via Ketlong is now attracting attention at home Letabo Zulu, a local audience member, believes its performances are a way to address societal problems.
We're in an African Renaissance, and so the whole world is looking to Africa to solve its problems. And so Vaakatahong is honestly, it's a platform to offer solutions to a lot of the ills that have happened because of the history that we've experienced as a globe, to be honest. So I think they are perfectly positioned to usher us into the newness that Africa needs.
I'm happy that it's being revived now, that the youth will take some cognizance and their township life and see how the township life goes. And it's something that they actually put their activism, their youth activism, and know where do they come from.
The world will be mesmerized, and in a nice way, and not to show and demonstrate on display that sadness that we are feeling because of the environment that we are coming from.
For some, an outlet for release. Others, an act of healing and entertainment. Pansula is also a means of honest preoccupation and has become an avenue for gainful employment.
That's our show today. Thank you for watching. I'm Joke Rogers.